Shalom, shalom, shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Greeting. This is Brother Yakal. And the topic of this video today is going to be stay fervent for Yahawah. Right? So let's get into it without further ado. Right? We got to stay firm for Yahawah. Bahasham, Yahawashi. Right? So let's get the book of Acts chapter 18. Or start off with the book of Acts chapter 18 and verse 25. And it reads, "This man was instructed in the way of the Lord." I'm gonna get the context. It says, "And a certain Jew named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Most High, and being fervent in spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Most High, knowing only the baptism of John." Right. So to be fervent, what does it mean to be fervent for the Lord? What does it mean to be fervent in the spirit? To be fervent means to be hot. Right. Let's get that. Let's get that in the online etymology dictionary. Right? It means to be boiling, hot, right? Glowing, right? You want to be hot for this truth, hot and in the spirit, right? So, you want to be fervent in the spirit and in truth, and you want to teach diligent things. You want to speak things concerning, oh man, this man's diligent in the scriptures, or this sister, she fervent in the scriptures, right? You want to be diligent when it comes to this word, right? So we have to be fervent because, the diligence shall bear rule, right? Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse the last verse, 58. It says, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Most High." Right? So our labor, everything that we do, every prayer that we put up, every time we throw our fringes on, every commandment that we keep to the best of our ability, every commandment that we every sin that we do away with through repentance, that's not in vain. Right? The angels record everything. The things that we do are not in vain. Right? So it says, "Be ye steadfast, unmovable," meaning be grounded. Right? We got to know that these things, they're going to contribute to something greater. Right? Always bounding in the work of the Lord. Right? There's always something we could be doing, whether it's taking some time out to pray, taking out 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day to meditate, taking 2 hours out to study, or however long you go. I know some brothers, their spirit, they read for about 2 hours a day, and that's how much they could take. But some brothers, they build up, and now they could read for 5 hours a day. Right? Some brothers, they start off with 3 chapters, then they build up to now they could read 10 chapters. Right? So there's always something you could be doing, always a way to improve. Right? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 9. And this is going to show you why it's important to stay fervent. It says, "Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen." Right? So we have to stay diligent so that we don't forget the commandments, so that we don't forget why we're even in the truth. Right? For example, like you, let's say you haven't been wearing your fringes lately. Right? You forget to wear your fringes one day, and then the next day it's just like, oh man, you kind of just forget to throw your fringes on, and now you doing all types of sin, but you ain't got your fringes to look down at to prevent you from doing those things, because your fringes, that's like your friendly reminder. So now you just committing sin, and you're not even acknowledging it anymore, and now you're slowly pining away from the truth. It says, "Only take to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thy eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons." Right? That's why we got to teach the next generation, and also teach our neighbors as well, the things pertaining to the commandments, pertaining to the truth, so that we don't forget. So that we don't forget that the Lord brought us out of Egypt. So that we don't forget the things that Yahawashi did for the nation of Israel. Right? Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, and verse 24. It says, "The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute." Right? So We want to be diligent in this thing because we know, there has to be an elect and there has to be a 1/3, but there also has to be a 2/3, right? So we want to be a part of the 1/3, right? The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute, right? We don't want to be under tribute any much longer, having to go to work and work long shifts for our enemies. We want to be, ruling over these nations, right? So that's why we got to be diligent and fervent in the spirit. Right, let's get Sirach chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way right and trust in him. Because when you order your way right, you're keeping the commandments. You seeking towards the Most High, seeking what's good towards him. You doing all that you can to order your steps right and walk after the ways of the Most High and Yahawashi. Right, and it says trust in him as well, meaning have faith, believe in him, have faith, right, and he's going to come through for you. Right, let's go to jump down to verse 10. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Most High and was confounded? Right, was our forefathers, did they look toward the Most High and the Most High couldn't really give them an answer, and now we just looking out there crazy? It says, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Right, so you could say Saul, he called upon the Lord, but the Lord didn't hear him, right? But that was because Saul was being wicked, right? That was because Saul was doing whatever he wanted to do and didn't listen to what the Most High told him to do, right? That's why Saul was forsaken. But other than that, our forefathers, whenever we called on the Most High, he always came through, right? So let's get let me see. Let's get the book of Daniel. Yeah, I'm done with this. Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 3. Right, as a testimony. Right, 3 and verse 11, and we're gonna read down to verse 30. Right. This is what happens when you believe in the Most High and trust him, and you fervent to serve the Most High. Right, because you had these wicked men, right? These wicked heathens, and they wanted us to bow down to their gods. So this is what happened. Verse 11, Daniel chapter 3 and verse 11, it says, and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Right, so they're saying, if you don't bow down and worship our gods, we're going to burn you up. We're going to burn you to death. Verse 12, there are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Why? Because these men serve Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, right? The Most High. They didn't serve these false idols, right? They knew the commandments, right? Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar. Actually, I'm gonna get that real quick. Slakia. I'm gonna get that in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, in verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Right, so you had a lot of different gods that these heathens serve, like Dagon, that fish god. You had the Philistines, that they had Dagon, right? The Moabites had their gods, right? The Edomites had their gods, of course. Right, all these nations have different gods, right? Molech, right? So, of course, the Babylonians, they had their gods as well. Bel and the dragon. So, we were commanded not to worship them, right? That's why we was getting persecuted for the truth. But so like in verse 2, it says, then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and I'm tripping. Verse 12. 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar in his rage and fury commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, Ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast in the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Right, so Nebuchadnezzar, right, he's saying at this time when you hear all these instruments blowing, that's when you were supposed to, according to him, right, worship and bow down to their God, right? But, he gave him an ultimatum saying, well, if you don't, well, then you're going to be cast into the burning fiery furnace, right? And he's kind of getting, kind of smart with it. He's saying, and who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Meaning, he kind of got smart. Who's going to save you from that furnace? Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. So, of course, they had the faith in the Most High that he was going to deliver them. Verse 18, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Right, so they're not going to serve, they made a vow not to serve these false gods. Verse 19, then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right, so he was getting angry. It says, therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it want to be heated. Right, so it got even hotter, 7 times more, or 7. That's a spiritual number. It could be an infinite amount or a number of completion, right? But it got hotter than it was originally intended to be. Verse 20. And he commanded the Most High, Salaki, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they was, thrown into the furnace. Verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So, the furnace, this is the Most High. This is all the Most High. Because now he turned the table to where these men, they're kind of starting to, they caught on fire, right? It says the flame of the fire slew those men that took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Because you mess with the Most High's men. So now, especially since these Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they was, keeping the Most High's commandment. So it came back on them. It says, and these men, so like in these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? And they answered and said unto the king, true, O king. And he answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Right, so they saw this angel, this angelic being, as the 4th man's in there, along with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. It says, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth in the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, captains, and the king's counselors being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their heads singed, neither was their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire passed on them. So they look like, they look like how they were before they even went into the furnace. Nothing was burned, nothing was singed, there was no ash upon them, their hair wasn't even burned. Verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servant that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Right, so now, you got the heathen even blessing the Most High, giving all praises to the Most High God. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Right. So as you can see, these men were uplifted in their let me get this in the book of Sirach. Through the Spirit. Sirach chapter 2. Sirach chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. So as you can see, these men, they even they knew what they had to deal with when it came to serving the Most High, and they was being fervent in spirit, right? You don't always when it says being fervent, that doesn't always mean just being fervent in one department of the truth. You might be fervent in reading, but you're not so you're not so hot in faith, right? So they were fervent in faith as well, and that's what caused the tables to turn. All right, let me get this. So diggeth. Salakia. Proverbs chapter 26 and 27. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. Meaning, what goes around comes around, right? So the Nebuchadnezzar and these wicked men that served other gods, right? Salaki, they had their own fate turn upon them, and now those men that threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace, now they all hell broke loose on them, right? And they got burned up. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were saved because they believed in the spirit and power of the Most High God, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Right, so that's the lesson. Just stay fervent for the Most High, stay fervent for the Lord. Stay on fire, have your candle lights burning, right? Because we coming upon some times that have never been seen upon earth, right? So how much more in these times do we have to be even more fervent than our forefathers, right, for this truth? So with that, I want to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Mashiach, Yahawashi, and Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad.